Alright guys, welcome to another episode. Hope you guys have been enjoying some of the videos I've been doing. I'm still very early in this whole YouTube thing, so trying to be consistent and trying to upload weekly. I just wanted to make a short video to kind of share and talk to you guys a bit about some of my favorite kind of drone shots and the angles I like to use. I'm not a very professional flyer. I think I'm doing alright so far. I think I have somewhat of an eye for getting certain types of shot, but I just wanted to share with you guys some of the basic ones that I picked up at a very early stage. And for those who are just, starting out flying, this could be very useful. So I'm just going to list out a couple of tips that I picked up along the way and also go through with you guys some of my favorite shots. Yeah, have you guys seen this? Have you formatted your SD card? Because I always forget and then I always fly up and take off with a full SD card. And once you start recording, you can't format it. You have to, yeah. Now, the first tip I learned at a very early stage was that some of the simplest shots can get you some of the best footage, like flying straight or pulling out backwards, or even kind of like a slider shot where you just go left or right and not play with any angles at all. These kind of simple shots can do wonders to the videos and still one of my favorite shots to use. The second tip I have is more of the post-production side. Now, not everyone goes through the post-production. Some of us just wants to stitch it up and share it with everyone out there. I've seen a couple of videos that look incredible, but a bit more effort could go a long way. Most of the time, when we are adjusting from one shot to another, there's this very awkward gimbal tilt or gimbal movement where we awkwardly just want to get to the angle and start shooting. Now, those are the things that we need to cut out straight away. So if you see in this timeline, I have this very awkward movement right here where I'm trying to shift from one angle to the next. So what I do is I go through the timeline slowly until I find that small transition period where it ends off the movement and where I start to adjust. That's where I take the cut. And cutting it there gives me the maximum amount of footage for that specific angle or movement. Alright, tip number 3. If you're doing like a travel video, I think some of us kind of overuse it. More than 2 or 3 scenes of the drone can kind of get a bit too much. So try to minimize the amount of drone shots you want to use in a single video unless it is specifically a drone video where you're talking about cinematic shots or movements like this video. Alright, let's get into it. Alright, so the first movement, and it is my go-to angle or go-to shot for most of my videos, is what we call an orbiting shot. So that's when you move the drone in one direction but tilting the camera in the other. You usually start on the left joystick where you start to create that movement of the entire drone first, so you kind of know what the speed is. And then looking at your screen, you kind of want to get it to the center of the screen. So the next one's a bit more tricky. You gotta pan your camera so that your subject stays in the middle of the camera at all times. So this creates an orbiting effect where the camera stays locked onto the target, but your drone flies around it. So you kind of see these shots in car chase videos and helicopters and all that kind of thing, but they have a pilot and they have a cameraman, but you have yourself. Alright, so the next shot I want to talk about, I don't know what the real name is, but I call it like the Dipdown. So all you have to do is get the drone to go forward and then tilt the camera down slowly so that you get that subject right in the middle of the frame. Now this may take a few tries and of course usually I get it maybe on the 3rd or 4th time, but that's what editing is for. You just cut and then everyone thinks you just did it in one shot. So the next few shots are what I spoke about earlier. Very basic, very simple shots that you can do. The first one being flying straight towards the subject. And you want to kind of match your speed to, how much you want to review or what your timeline or your music might be in post-production. That goes the same for when you are doing a zoom out where you're flying the drone backwards. Now, be careful with this. If you're flying high up, that's not too much of a problem. But if you are low to the ground, you want to make sure you kind of spin your drone around, make sure it's all clear around before you do kind of a backwards movement because you got no eyes at the back. So the next one, it's kind of like a slider shot where you just basically push your lever to the right or to the left and then the drone just goes sideways like that, and then you get a very nice kind of review if you are close to a building. But at the same time, it gives a very calming and very easy to look at footage. And I think these are some of the very underrated movements that, you know, everyone should have and everyone should do. So the next one is something I don't see very often, but people do use it. It's a review shot. So basically what you do is you have a foreground and a background, and the background is something that you want to review. And you kind of hide the drone in front of your foreground. So what you want to do is slowly bring the drone upwards in a very controlled speed. The first part may have a bit of an acceleration lag, so just be prepared for that, and you might have to cut that out in post. But the good part about this is that when there's something behind that you want to review, maybe it's the scenery, maybe it's the background or the location that you're at. So these review shots are great for that. Okay, so this next shot is a bit more difficult. It's called the helix shot, and what that simply does is it combines a orbiting shot with a rising or an ascending shot. So what you want to do is you want to start the rotation first, and then you start to pan the camera, making sure that everything's in the middle of the shot, and then that's when you slowly shift your lever upwards, so that raises up the drone and ascends it. This shot takes a bit of practice. I've only done it once in this instance, but that being said, it's always good to practice these kind of complicated shots where you have to do kind of 3 movements at the same time. It's always a good challenge. I'm just going to stop right here and put in one extra tip which I picked up from another video that I saw online. What people like to do is they like to use their joysticks like, you know, thumbsticks and put their fingers on the top. But actually you get more control by kind of pinching the nipples. By doing that, you kind of have a bit more control on both ends, and you can do very minor adjustments, and that gives you a lot more control than what you would usually have with just 2 thumbs, you know? So you kind of hold it really close to the bottom like this, so you get a bit of contact with the controller and then the nipple, and then you kind of, you know, you get to do this kind of thing. Yeah, I think that's it for this video. There are plenty of shots out there. I may have gotten the names of the shots wrong, or some of the techniques a bit wrong or different, but this is my way of flying. If you guys found it useful, that would be great. I mean, everybody starts off learning how to fly these things, and I hope my video can help people who are just starting out in flying drones and flying these quadcopters. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one.